Hey everyone, it's Sarah. I know it's been a really long time. I will try to make this short, and I think that's going to be really hard. I'm sitting in my car outside of work. This is my only quiet time, or time that I get to myself. So usually when I arrive at work, I sit in the parking lot for a while and drink my coffee and listen to a podcast and put my makeup on in the car, and then I go inside. And I'm very blessed to have a very understanding employer, and they don't really question where I'm at, as long as I'm pretty much in the office by 11 a.m. And I know that sounds really late to some people, but if I kind of explained how my mornings go, I think it would make more sense, complete with the fact that my commute is about 45 minutes. So, okay, so I got all the babies home in December, and I'm already in that phase where I look back on that time in the next few months, and I don't know how I did it. I don't know how we did it. I mean, I do. The answer is, when you're going through a hardship, I mean, especially a medical hardship, whether it's your kids or yourself or your parents, you just do it. You just do it. And you try to pride yourself on doing it really well. So in the beginning, Kalen, he was on oxygen. He was still what I would say pretty sick, in that he was, getting over being very jaundiced in the hospital, needing a lot of oxygen support. We ended up being sent home with it. And he was actually kind of touch averted when he first came home. It was like he didn't want to be comforted with touch. He wanted to be laid down on the floor and swaddled and left completely alone. Our physical therapist was really concerned that he might always be touch averted. He needed quiet and low lighting and not very much touch. Fast forward to today, and that boy is off oxygen, absolutely insane. Like, he wakes up crazy, I mean, in a good way, and he's crazy all day until he goes to bed. He's the most vocal, he's the most physical. At one point, neurology said he needed a special vest called a Benic vest to help him sit up because he has low muscle tone in his trunk. God bless our physical therapist. She said, I don't really want to use that. So I never did fill the prescription for that vest. And, she puts special athletic tape on him and just keeps working with him every week. And he's just go. He is currently pulling up onto his knees and trying to crawl. He kind of does the army crawl type thing. They are all delayed. I'll get into the other two kids, but I just want to clarify that they are all delayed for various reasons, all stemming from the fact that they were 25-week premature babies. And it doesn't bother me. I can't help but notice it more when I see other, what they call typical kids or full-term babies. So the only thing that I can do is kind of filter my exposure to the world. That has caused me to pull away. I've pulled away from most of the infertility groups. I've pulled away from typical parenting groups. And I've just decided that what is best for me and my family is to kind of surround myself with people going through similar situations. I have, a couple mom friends from the NICU. I'm still really close with the nurses. Just my life changed dramatically. So I'm not the same person. My life is totally different. And God bless anybody who's, still watching for videos from this channel. It isn't going to be what it was. It's no longer an infertility channel, but it's not going to be a mommy channel. I don't know how often I'll be able to post. But I didn't want to just disappear, because I know what it used to feel like to follow somebody's journey and be emotionally vested, and then they just kind of stop making videos and disappear. The kids they were due in August and they were born in April. So we're right in between where we've actually passed their actual birthday of April 27th, but they're not quite looking and acting like 1-year-old babies. So I'm kind of just now getting a grasp on my life. I'm just now starting to feel like I'm not drowning. So if I can, I will occasionally post updates. And again, I just want to say thank you for everyone. If it wasn't for starting this channel, I don't really know how I would have made it through the last couple of years. So anyway, I've updated you on Kaylin. Connor probably has the most issues. Connor and Maeve both had brain bleeds in their cerebellum. And right off the bat, that's great news in that it's not brain bleeding in the ventricles. I've met mothers whose babies had, grade whatever bleeding in the ventricles, and they have lifelong challenges. They don't have as much information about the cerebellum, as much research, so they weren't able to tell me exactly what this would mean for Connor and Maeve, except that if it affected anything, it would affect motor skills. And that's more true for Connor than it is for Maeve. It's kind of a wait and see game. You wait for your babies to develop and then see what you need to concentrate on to help them. Connor's brain bleed caused his cerebellum to be asymmetrical, so he has issues on one side of his body, and it's so fascinating how the brain works, especially in a baby. But our therapist first thought that he had neurological problems because when he's very excited, he sticks his tongue out, but it goes to the left only. Like his tongue sticks out and then it only goes to the left side of his mouth. And she said, if he was doing it to the left and right, I would think it's just a personality thing, but the fact that it's always to the left just is another indicator of many that she thought he had a neurological problem. So he had a lot of tightness on one side, a lot of weakness on the other, and it all kind of leads back to that brain injury. He is, I only say this because I have the 3. He is the last of the 3 to do things. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's something really wrong with him, because you could have 2 different babies at 2 different times and they would meet milestones at their own pace. But my kids are definitely behind because they're almost 1 year old. We've almost reached their due date and none of them are crawling, like really crawling. They mastered rolling over just in the last couple of months, whereas I see some people with full-term babies, their kids are rolling over and sitting up on their own at like 6 months. That just blows my mind. It just blows my mind. Anyway, sorry, I keep getting things on my phone pop up. So basically, what you would like to happen with a brain injury is that you just consistently keep doing the therapies. We have weekly physical therapy and occupational therapy. We have monthly developmental therapy, and eventually Connor will regularly see a speech therapist. These therapy sessions are usually about an hour, so twice a week somebody is with the kids for 3 straight hours. Let's see. Maeve is the most typical, as you would say. She did have the brain bleed, but it bled in such a way that her cerebellum is symmetrical. So if she has motor skill issues, it's not quite as obvious, because she doesn't have that asymmetry on the 2 halves of her body to really point it out to us. She's always done the best. I hate these kinds of terms, but she's the one that has followed the more typical path. She's gained weight better in the beginning. She came home 2 months before the boys. She didn't have surgery. That was just luck of the draw with her, really. She happened to be sick with an infection when they suspected that she had NEC, which is necrotizing enterocolitis. It's the most common and the most deadly bowel issue for preemies. Since she was already sick, they didn't want to operate, so they didn't do an exploratory laparotomy, so she avoided surgery completely. Antibiotics helped clear it up, and I mean, that was it. They didn't find any reason after that to operate, so she's just, she's our most typical baby. So when I went back to work, it was before any of the kids came home. I went back to work 3 days a week. I kept that schedule to the best of my ability until recently. And in this past month, some of their appointments have kind of tapered off. I mean, there was a point where they had an appointment every single week on top of, you know, the 2 therapy sessions and the monthly therapy session. So I've returned to 4 days a week. So the only day I have off is Wednesday. And actually, it's a little bit easier that way. My mom has the kids, by the way, until they're a little bit more mobile. She won't be able to watch them then, but for now, she's really bonded with them, and the thought of sending them to daycare kind of hurt her feelings, and as long as she can handle it, she wants to keep doing it, and so that's why I'm off on Wednesday, so that she only has to have them for 2 days in a row. No more oxygen, no more feeding tubes. We went from needing something like 21 oral syringes a day. Now we're down to 4 because the only one still taking medication is Kalen, and we are weaning him off of it. So yeah, they're pretty typical besides the, you know, several doctor appointments and therapy sessions. The other thing with Connor is that he has a cleft soft palate, and so he's having a lot of issues with like ear infections, and I shouldn't say that. He doesn't technically have ear infections. He constantly has fluid behind his eardrums. So when we go to the audiologist, they do the tympanogram. His tympanograms are flat, meaning that his eardrum is not vibrating at all. So when he hears sounds, it's like, you know, putting a cup over your ear. That's how he hears. And we have an appointment later this month to talk to the ENT about what to do to get the fluid out of his ears. It's probably going to be tubes, but we'll see. The audiologist said that every doctor has a different approach, and they may not want to start with tubes. So anyway, the cleft palate will eventually affect his speech, and they taught me what to look for. Apparently the only difference between the letters M and B is whether or not you're blocking the air off in your nasal passages. So M, air is coming out of your nose. B, you have to block the air off in your nasal passage. And Connor has something called veopharyngeal insufficiency, where he cannot block the air to his nasal passages at all. So she said, don't be surprised if when he learns the word for ball, he says mall, or the other counterpart is the letters N and D. N and D are the same sort of mouth pattern. It's just the difference between cutting air off to your nasal passages. So he might not say dada, it might sound more like nana. Anyway, they're awesome. I love being a mom. It's totally worth all the shit we go through. And I look forward to having a really fun life with them and my husband. I'm going to cut it off there. There's so much I could talk about, but this way I'll entice myself to record another video. Hope you're all doing well, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.